I'm always glad to see you, my friend. So let's get into this. What do you make of what Congressman Clyburn is suggesting? Get the prospect of impeachment through the House, wait a while, let Joe Biden get things accomplished, then bring it to the Senate, because as I understand it, you and about 250 other lawmakers are calling on the president to be removed from office. I mean, is it even realistic to approach it, realistically speaking, with only 10 days left until the inauguration?
It's good to be with you, Alex, as usual, even under these extraordinary, stressful circumstances. And so first, let me just reach out and offer my sympathies to the family of Brian Sicknick, who died in the line of duty, 12 years a Capitol Police officer. So my sympathies go to him. And I also understand that an off-duty police officer has died. His name is Howard Libengood. And so my sympathies are with his family. In terms of the timing and what we will do, I have called for the use of the invocation of the 25th Amendment. I wish the Vice President would step up and do his duty. And I think that could be the most honorable thing he could do, and it would be an important part of his legacy to invoke the 25th Amendment, but that looks like that will not happen at this point. I also believe the president should resign. So those around him should pressure him, let him know his time is up. He has disgraced himself and this country. He should resign. But in terms of impeachment, I'm with Jim Clyburn, our whip. We will, in the House, impeach this president again. I am a co-sponsor of the article of impeachment that will be introduced, I believe, tomorrow. The article is about incitement of insurrection. I can't imagine that you and I are talking about this, but that's actually what has happened. And I think it is a very fitting possibility that we would wait and not send the articles, the Speaker would not send the articles over to the Senate until things have stabilized and the new president is inaugurated.
Yeah. Congresswoman, you mentioned your condolences to the family of Officer Brian Sicknick, and I just want to tell everyone right now what we're seeing, we'll keep this up, is a procession. They are reportedly removing his body from where it has lain in the wake of the atrocities committed on Wednesday. And it is going to be moved now to a funeral home. And we were told by Vaughn Hilliard that there were off-duty police officers, both from Capitol Hill Police as well as D.C. Metro Police, that were all called to come and do what they're doing right now, pay this very somber tribute to him. They're really in the shadow of the Capitol, a place where he gave his life's work for the last dozen years or so, and ultimately ended up giving his life during that horrible insurrection on Wednesday. If Vaughn is able to join us and tell us a little bit more what we're seeing, we're welcome to bring Vaughn on to do that. But in the meantime, Congresswoman, we do have Vaughn? Okay, Vaughn. Congresswoman, if you just stand by just for a moment and join us as Vaughn, tell us what we're seeing here.
Yeah, Alex, you can hear the church bells ringing here. This is a procession. We're on Independence Avenue and Constitution Avenue. And I just want to remain silent for a moment. Alex, that was Capitol Hill officer Brian Sicknick. Passed away 5 days ago. His remains are being transferred from the medical examiner's office to the funeral home, we're told. As you can see, law enforcement were called here over the last hour. Thousands of them as I look up and down the road as far as I can see during this procession here. I want Ronnie, our photographer, if it could, to take a step back and show the crowd that has gathered here. This was not put out in any form of a press release or publicly put out there, but this is a Sunday afternoon in Washington, D.C., and usually a week before Inauguration Day, a January Sunday would look a lot different than this one, Alex.
Yeah.
Officer Sicknick was the one officer who was beaten to death. An investigation is still underway, as you've noted. But he was here defending the Capitol grounds when the Capitol Police were clearly overmanned on Wednesday. Other officers sustained injuries. Officer Sicknick joined the Capitol Police Force in 2008. You can hear folks clapping now. Folks on bike, folks running, folks walking. This was an officer that joined the force back in 2008 here, defending the Capitol for the last 12 years. He was previously in the Air National Guard, served multiple overseas deployments. I think for Washington, D.C., you now see a law enforcement presence that you frankly didn't see just 5 days ago. There are now more than 6,200 National Guardsmen, just 10 days out from Inauguration Day. And you see Capitol Police here, joined by Metropolitan Police Department, Virginia, Maryland. This has been a tough 5 days here in the nation's capital, Alex. And what you just watched was, again, Officer Brian Sicknick, 42 years old, heading to the funeral home here 5 days after he lost his life here on the Capitol grounds.
Yeah, very sobering, very emotional. Okay, Vaughn, thank you for that. I appreciate it. I'm glad we were able to show our viewers in real time exactly what was going on there. As I bring back Congresswoman Madeline Dean, it is so hard to watch this. And when you think about the violence on Wednesday, the desecration of our seat of government on Wednesday, the injuries on Wednesday, the deaths on Wednesday, there are those that worry about impeachment proceedings, that there could be more outrage among these extremist groups of the president, the supporters of the president. Are you worried about that?
I thank you and Vaughn for bringing that dignified moment.
It's hard.
It's hard. And it didn't have to be that way. I am angry. It did not have to be that way. And so while I am certainly worried about more violence, I am not worried about more violence as a result of us doing our job and impeaching this president. The violence was brought to us, incited, and the fuel lit by this president. So I fear there will be more violence. I do not think it's connected to our duty to do our job and forever impeach this president and hold him accountable, at least in the history books, and for all future would-be leaders. So I worry about violence, I certainly do. But I call upon Republican leadership and Vice President Pence to say, we bear some responsibility for this, and we call upon all of our supporters to stop.
You know, you have personally good reason to be worried. You were in the House chamber when the angry mob stormed the Capitol. We're going to bring an image that shows you that day in a gas mask. I mean, describe those moments, what that was like for you.
It was very strange. I was preparing for my own remarks on the Pennsylvania challenge, and I went up to the gallery to hear the Arizona challenge, tried to go back to my office in Cannon, but was blocked because of a bomb threat in Cannon. So I thought probably the safest place for me is to stay in that gallery. As we were in the gallery and I was standing near Dean Phillips, he and I kept saying, shame, just shame. How could you make these false arguments? How could you do that? And with that, we were all told in some ad hoc series of instructions. Number one, please take your seats. Number two, would you please prepare to either kneel on the ground or lie down on the ground? With that, I started to plan, and I don't know whether it was a good plan, but I went down to the front row of the gallery and used that front wall of that gallery as a shield. And Lucille Roybal-Allard and I were there, and others, and we used that as a shield. And we hollered at others who we saw standing, Veronica Escobar in a beautiful white jacket. I said, get down, get down. And so with that, they said, would you please get your gas masks out? And we helped one another open the gas masks. And then finally they said, and you have to recognize, we weren't watching TV. We didn't know what the crowd looked like.
Yeah.
We were inside. And finally they said, they have breached the rotunda. They are in the rotunda. Put your gas masks on and await further instructions. It was a terrifying moment.
Yeah.
But again, I didn't know how many. I thought maybe a handful of people had gotten somehow in. I didn't know it was hundreds. I didn't know they would know their way to the Speaker's office or Whip Clyburn's office on the 3rd floor. I didn't know people were going to die. It was terrifying.
I can imagine. And as you think about going back to work, I mean, how safe do you feel? Do you think enough preparations are being made Are you pretty confident that this disaster that we saw befall the Capitol on Wednesday will not be repeated?
I hope and pray, and we're all on our caucus calls and every conversation we're having with leadership, asking for assured security of the Capitol and the Capitol grounds. Because remember who else was there? Dedicated staff were there. Of course, these police officers, Capitol Police were there. This didn't have to be that way. This should have been a high security event with a safe perimeter. I have a hard time getting into that Capitol if I don't show my PIN or my credentials. But of course, they were overwhelmed. So do I feel safe? Not yet. But I'm very worried for staff.
You know, as if to just add fuel to this concerning fire, we've heard about the Capitol physician alerting members and staff that all of whom sheltered together in that large conference room on Wednesday, you may have been exposed to someone with coronavirus. Have you been alerted? Were you in that conference room?
Yes, that was we were moved first to Rayburn Building, and it was not a secure location, and then we were moved to the Ways and Means Building, hearing room, and it was despicable. Most of the back left side of the room was filled with Republicans huddled together, many of whom were not wearing masks. They were offered masks. They were asked to wear masks. It was despicable. You can imagine I kept my distance.
I'm glad you did, Congresswoman Madeline Dean. I'm glad to speak with you. That was a tough one, though. I'll see you again. Do take care. Thanks.
Thanks, Alex.
Yet another historic day for Senator-elect Raphael Warnock. A live report on what just happened in Atlanta coming your way next.